Hey guys, welcome back. In this particular video, we're going to be taking a look at the implementation of Telnet remote management for the ASA firewall. The three main things: how do you set up remote management using Telnet, the configuration commands, and we'll do a lab so that you guys can see how it's done. So first thing, remote management using Telnet, same things, more of a review for you guys because we did talk about these in the previous video as an overview of Telnet management. Telnet can be configured on any interface except for an interface with a security level of 0. That's more of a protection so that your running config does not get transmitted over an interface that is an untrusted interface. As I said, it has to be enabled on a per interface basis, so you need to enable Telnet. It's a service that allows to traffic, so it needs to be enabled as a service specifying the source, who's allowed, and from what interface. Besides that, you need to set up either a password using the passwd command, or you have an option of a username password either through the local database or by using a remote AAA server. All right, so we'll go ahead and take a look at the commands to set that up, but overall basically the same thing that we discussed in the previous video. What are the configuration commands to do it? Telnet, as I said, is the command that enables the protocol Telnet on this interface from this specific source IP address and mask. So source IP destination mask specifies a source of the management device that's coming in and managing this particular device. Interface is the interface that they're coming in from. You need to specify it. The only restriction, as I talked about earlier on as well, cannot be done on a interface with a security level of 0. Cannot be done on a security level 0 interface. And other than that, no problems. Telnet does require a username password, or sorry, it requires a password, but you also have the option of doing a username password. If you do a normal password, nothing better than just password. If you want to do it based on a local database where you have a username password, create the username, admin username, password, specify the password, and then after that, tie up your Telnet authentication based on local. As I talked about earlier, local is case sensitive, has to be done in uppercase. So this is the syntax. Very simple to do. We'll do the lab based on that. This is the same topology that we have been using in our labs prior to this. So basically, this is the lab from the ICMP lab, which was, I believe, video number 11. So over here, this lab builds on the previous lab of ICMP. Configure remote management of the ASA firewall from the inside network. It should only be allowed from the 10.11.11.0 network. So Telnet 10.11.11.0 and the inside interface with a mask. Create a username admin with the password of Cisco123. So I'm not doing it based on the passwd command. I want you guys to do using the local database. Telnet should use a configured local username password for authentication. What I'm going to do over here is I'm going to do a little bit more than that so that I can demonstrate these things to you. But let me at least do the basic foundation over here, what the lab is asking you for, and then we'll do the other things that I also want you guys to take a look at. So right now, if I go on to router 1, which is on the inside, and I try to Telnet into it, it's not going to let me do that because Telnet, the protocol, is not enabled on the ASA firewall. So in order to do that, what do I need to do? I need to go to the ASA firewall, and I'll enable Telnet from the 10.11.11.0 network as the lab asks you to do, which is coming in from the inside interface. What I'm going to do before I do the local database, I want you guys to see how it's done based on just the password. So if I set the password as Cisco123, that's good enough for me to allow the 10.11.11.0 network, which is the inside network, which is this network over here, to Telnet in over onto this interface. Anyone on this network should be able to Telnet in. All right, so that's what I've allowed, and the password is Cisco123. Let's go ahead and test that. So I'll go to router 1. Remember, the Telnet did not work because Telnet was not enabled at that time. Now it is. It'll prompt you for a password, Cisco123, and I'm in. So this is the default way of getting into your, or Telnet way of getting into your ASA firewall remotely. Now, that's not what the lab asked. They asked you to do it based on what? a username password. I did it based on password, but now I'm going to show you how the lab wanted you guys to do it, which was based on the username password with the username of admin with the password of Cisco123. How do I do that? Again, on the ASA firewall, I'll create the local database, username admin, and a password of Cisco123. That's my local database. Now I need to tell my ASA firewall that the Telnet access to the console or Telnet console access will be, console is just a keyword, is going to be done based on the local database. But before I do local, I'll do local lowercase. I want you guys to see that it gives you a message saying the AAA server group local does not exist. So I need to do it in uppercase. It requires you to do it in uppercase. So that's where you have tied up my local database for authentication for Telnet access. So now if I go back and do the same Telnet, it's going to prompt you for a username, which is admin, with a password of Cisco123. So I'm in. Everything is good. I can do whatever I want remotely now. All right, exit. So I can exit out of here. Now the last thing that I want to show you guys before I move on is even if I allow Telnet from the outside network, it's not going to work because the outside interface has an, oops, wrong place, show name if, has a security level set to 0. So let's say I do Telnet 192.1.20.0, which is this particular outside network, 192.1.20.0. On the outside, I want to allow Telnet, but it's not going to work. Why? Because it's a security level 0 interface. So although it takes a command, it doesn't complain about the command. It has already authenticated or set up the authentication based on the local database, whether it's inside or outside any Telnet connection. Although I've done that, it's not going to work. Why? Because it's coming in from an interface. Outside has a security level of 0. Let's try it. I go to router 2 and try to Telnet into 20.10, again 2 traffic, but it's not going to work just for the fact because it has a security level 0 set on it. So Telnet is not allowed from that particular interface. All right, so that is this part over here. We did a little bit more than the lab. I want you guys to see the other things that we had discussed. Now in terms of lab configuration, based on what the lab asked, Telnet 10.11.11.0, 255.255.255.0 inside, so I'm allowing it from the inside interface from this source network. This is my local username and password. This is my local database, and I pointed my Telnet authentication to the local database, local uppercase, and I Telneted in by connecting into, I verified this by connecting into the ASA from router 1, and it worked. And I also showed you the outside doesn't work, and I also showed it to you based on just the password. Let's move on to the next video. In that particular video, we're going to do the same thing, but by using SSH as a protocol. Join us there.